Welcome back. We're getting in breaking news about the government now coming out with regulations on a no-fly list. Now, this is the impact of the incident that had shocked the nation, the unruly behaviour of the Shiv Sena MP Ravindra Gaikwad. Now, what we're hearing is that Mr. Gajapati Raju is also present at a press conference that is presently taking place as I speak. So let's go straight to the press conference and listen in.
Civil Aviation Requirement, as it is called, CAR, in 2014, which dealt with the subject matter of unruly and disruptive passengers. We have also been receiving suggestions that this regulation, which was brought out in 2014, lacks certain clarity in certain aspects, and the two important areas where there were shortcomings in the 2014 regulations are, firstly, that it does not provide for the period for which the passenger has to be taken off board. It does not provide any period. The second shortcoming in that regulation was that there are no appeal provisions which have been provided in it. So we wanted to consult the stakeholders in strengthening this CAR, and while we are doing this, we are also proposing to bring out a national no-fly list, because instead of leaving matters to all the time to individual airlines, it would be better if we create a system where a national low-fly list is brought into existence with appropriate oversight by a mechanism, by a body which has been put in place here, and which will then be monitored by DGCA. So this is how this draft amendment to the 2014 regulations are being placed in public domain today on DGCA's website for stakeholders' comments. The salient features of the proposed changes are: we are putting the instances of unruly behavior into three categories. The three categories are: level 1 will be disruptive behavior such as physical gestures, verbal harassment, unruly behavior due to inebriation, etc. The level 2 unruly behavior will be physically abusive behavior such as pushing, kicking, hitting or grabbing, or inappropriate touching or sexual harassment, etc. The third level will be life-threatening behavior such as damage to aircraft operating systems, physical violence such as choking or murderous assault or attempted or actual breach of the flight crew compartment, and so on and so forth. So we have put the unruly behavior into these three categories, and for these three categories, the corresponding suspensions are: for level 1, the suspension is proposed to be for 3 months. For level 2, the suspension is proposed to be for 6 months, and for level 3, it is proposed to be suspended for 2 years or more without limit. So these are the period which has been mentioned. In order to ensure that right balance is struck between the airline's safety requirements and also passengers' convenience, and to ensure that this provision is not misused by airlines, we have proposed a two-step process. In the first step, what we have proposed is that whenever there is a complaint received by the airlines from their crew relating to this unruly behavior, then the airline would have to constitute a standing committee which will then look at this particular complaint within a maximum period of 10 days, and the committee will consist of a retired district and sessions judge as the chairman, a representative from a different scheduled airline as a member, and a representative from a passengers association or consumer association.
जैसे यूपी में शिक्षा की बात होती है तो ख्याल में आता है एक एजुकेशन माफिया जिसमें कई सारे नेता
जिस दिन ये घटना होती है कितना दिन के बाद ये हो सकता है कि एक नतीजे पे पहुंच पाए कि इनको नो फ्लाई लिस्ट में रखना है?
They can come immediately.
10 दिन के भीतर ये निर्णय आ जाएगा।
पैसेंजर अपनी आपत्ति जाहिर करने के लिए अपील कमेटी है जिसमें जा सकते हैं। पूरा एक प्रोसेस कितना दिन का?
10 दिन का। 10 दिन के भीतर ये प्रोसेस कंप्लीट, पहला स्टेज जो प्रोसेस है बैनिंग का वो कंप्लीट किया ही जाएगा।
सर उन 10 दिनों के लिए क्या होगा? मतलब
We won't fly in that airline. That's all.
by the time
ये स्पष्ट कर दिया जाए कि अगर कोई घटना होती है उसके बाद एयरलाइन उसको इमीडिएटली बैन कर सकती है और फिर 10 दिन का समय है जिसमें कि इसको तय किया जाएगा कि ये बैन रखा जा सकता है या ना रखा जा सकता है। लेकिन उस 10 दिन के दौरान उस एयरलाइन पे आप फ्लाई नहीं कर सकते।
clarification to my earlier question. Suppose a passenger is booked on level 3, like and he's put on the no-fly list, and you have given an option for other airlines to follow or not to follow. So isn't it a risk for the other airlines, a passenger who has been booked in a level 3, suppose one airline says, okay, we'll fly him, isn't it a risk to the other passengers?
No, but then why do we believe that the airline would do something irrational? You say the airlines have the freedom to take a call, and why would any airline do something which is irrational when we are giving the power to the airline to ban any unruly passenger who is in level 3?
But sir, in the case of Gaikwad, we have seen that the ministry issued an order and the Air India had to, compile to it. So it was not an Air India's decision. So I mean, there are interventions and there are interventions from the government. So how
That is, you say you would appreciate that. No, 1 minute. You would appreciate that, as I mentioned earlier, there were certain shortcomings in the existing framework, and that's why we are bringing this framework. Now, in this framework, there is no provision for ministry to issue any advisory or anything. This process is complete in itself.
I'll respond to you what you're saying. You see, you are talking about the Gaikwad, Professor Gaikwad's case. Now, in Professor Gaikwad's case, I have spoken in Parliament twice. The first time itself I spoke in Parliament, what did I tell them? There was a civil aviation requirement which was brought out in November 2014, and in my wildest of dreams I never thought that an MP will get caught in it. Please go through the whole thing. And there are shortcomings and we are addressing ourselves to that. Now, the second time I also spoke in Parliament, you read the whole thing together. There's no problem with that. Now, keep Professor Gaikwad out of it. Not all Indians are Professor Gaikwads. And so let us not get overboard on that. We need balanced regulation. Regulation which is meaningful. Now, at that time a civil aviation requirement was published. It was put in public domain. Obviously, we didn't get the response that we anticipate we will get now. Because now all of you are going to write something for or against, and you're going to generate the public interest. And I'm sure that the public also is quite interested in this now. So I expect responses to come, responses which will be balanced. Because government has to take a balanced view of the whole thing. Now, with regard to this instant case, yes, the passenger was kind of debarred from flying. And yes, after a few days, I advised the Air India management to revoke the ban.
Based on his letter of regret.
Based on what? He had given me a letter saying that he regretted the whole thing, and it was not his intention to take that this should be escalated to the level it was, and that this will not be a precedent. It will be a kind of this thing that I will behave myself. On which I advised. I, as a Minister of Civil Aviation, advised. Now I advise the airlines to withdraw the ban. There will be an opinion that you should not have advised the airline. There will be an opinion that you should advise the airline. But me, in my ways, judgment, I have advised, and I have done it.
In fact, that's the reason why you say it was necessary that we bring out a framework which is complete in itself, and this is what this framework seeks to achieve. There are very clear-cut provisions as to when such an incident happens, how the subsequent events will follow, and after this there is no need for anyone's intervention. And of course, at the end of the day, the judicial recourse is always open both to the airlines as well as to the passenger. But within the civil aviation requirements, the regulatory framework, this is what has been proposed, which is complete in itself. Over there for a moment, please. Yes.
What happens? Suppose an incident takes place and the airline reports and it comes to the committee. And if the passenger, in the meanwhile, you said that already for 10 days he'll be debarred. But if the passenger apologizes, like as in the case of Gaikwad, then does it still have to go through the process, or it can be revoked?
It may not come to government.
It will not come to government, certainly, and it is for the committee to take into account whether that apology is adequate, not adequate, because the passenger also will be represented to the committee. So the committee, which is quasi-judicial in nature, that committee will take a call.
Sir,
You wanted to say something? Yes.
Sir, three questions. One, a person on the no-fly list, will that be valid for international airlines? Suppose I am on the no-fly list, can I buy a Lufthansa ticket and fly to Germany, or is that order applicable only for Indian carriers?
It is applicable to domestic carriers which are governed by the civil aviation requirements of our country.
So he can fly.
And as far as other carriers are concerned, I would be happy to share with you, for example, we have seen what British Airways has done and Singapore Airlines have done. While they sell the tickets to their passengers, there is the rights of carriage which airlines reserve to themselves. And therefore, those airlines, if they wish to use the Indian no-fly list and ban such a passenger under their own rights of carriage rules, they can very well do so.
So, on a different note, somebody is here and the rates are going to be skyrocketing. So, is there any provision? I mean, is the DGCA?
I would suggest we confine ourselves today to the no-fly list, to this car. Yes. Over there, please. Over there. Yes, as you will see from the document which will be placed on the DGCA's website for public consultation, the airlines, once they have completed the first stage committee and then the committee has given its finding, then they will be required to report it to the DGC, and DGC will maintain it.
So will it be DGCA maintains that list? Is it going to be available for all airlines to view?
Yes, it will be.
Is it also going to be shared with the public? Is it a public list that anybody can access?
We will take a call on this. We will have to take a call on this.
My other question is related to what Sena said. Will this be effective once the identification part of while the getting case actually gets operational? I'm asking because even in Mr. Gaikwad's case, there were a lot of other Mr. Gaikwads who got a lot of rough time because of one certain Mr. Gaikwad. Because we sort of there is no system right now to sort of narrow down at the exact person while he's looking at the next.
You mean more than one of a similar name?
Right.
Yes. So let me clarify that the Digi Yatra effort and this one are running on two parallel tracks. The two are consistent. That's what I was trying to explain, because making sure that we get the secure identification for the person that has been put on the no-fly list is consistent with what we eventually want to do through Digi Yatra. But Digi Yatra is on a parallel track. There are consultations, there are working group meetings and so on that are happening as well. In this particular case, when somebody is put on the no-fly list because of safety or security considerations, we will have their identification details, and those will could include Aadhaar, passport number, and other forms of identification. So we will uniquely identify the individual who's on the national no-fly list for safety or security considerations.
Sir,
Can we request? Yes, ma'am.
Will it be applicable for both domestic as well as international?
It will be applicable for the domestic airlines for any of their flights, and for foreign airlines under their own rules of carriage. If they wish to use this input, they can do so.
Sir, if the committee formed by the airline takes about 10 days to finalize whether, in which category the input really falls, And if the passenger challenges that ban, then how many days will the committee of the ministry going to take to finalize all this issue? And second, what happens to repeat offenders? For example, if somebody has...
For repeat offenders, what we presently propose here is if the finding is for the same level of misdemeanor, then the ban will be twice the period of the previous ban. So that's what we have proposed here.
And what happens to
Yes.
There may be some cases in which passengers' behavior may be unruly on airport before boarding or after that arrival. So in that case, does airport's operator have the authority to report it?
Presently, we have not provided it for the airport operator, not for the airport operator. But if it is happening at the terminal, for example, where there is misbehavior at the time of check-in with, etc., then there also the airline, if it is something which is specific to the airline and it is against the airline staff, then airlines can take it to their committee. That's what we have proposed in this.
What did you consult with, sir, in the process of this? Did you speak to airlines, stakeholders,
But that's what we are doing now. Our intention is to consult everybody, including airlines and airports and all stakeholders, and that's what we are putting it out for.
So can you categorize some problem at the airport as a safety issue, say at the airport check-in counter?
No, wherever...
You can't come up with a blanket statement on that. As the existing car already says, and this one includes in that there is a range of behavior starting from when you are going to be boarding the flight, your arrival at the airport, etc., that can be viewed as a safety issue. Of course, as I've said before as well, if there are police and criminal type investigations that have to happen, those will happen in any case. Here we are looking at it from a safety point of view, and that safety, thinking that safety analysis will start from even the pre-boarding actions as well.
And sir, if there is one passenger whose name has been provided by security agencies, so will it be mandatory for all the airlines to bar him?
Yes.
Yes. Security is security.
So what periods?
Over there. 1 minute, can we just hear him, please?
As said about the DG initiative, as a complementary to this safety initiative, also making identification a necessary objective. Can the ministry come out with a regulation when the Supreme Court has said that you cannot deny any service if the passenger does not provide the Aadhaar details or any other?
No, we are not making, as we said, we are presently in the process of examining as to how best to capture his identification details. And the broad thinking on the subject is that since a passenger in any case has to provide identification for entry into the airport and to ensure that he indeed is the bona fide passenger for that particular ticket, it is in the fitness of things that the same identification document details be captured at the time of booking the ticket. But we are working on it.
And sir, if a person is in no-fly list, suppose you have captured passport number and Aadhaar card number, and he books another ticket with voter ID card. In that case, what are the options?
In such cases, even if the voter ID card number is there, but if other details are matching, then the airlines would be free to cross-check and to deny him boarding. That's possible.
But those are precisely the kinds of questions that we are working out in the DigiYatra working group, which is what are the identification items that will be allowed to be associated with the PNR? Can it be a whole range of them, or will it be a short list? As of now, you know already that for any international flight you have to give a passport number. That's already mandatory.
So who are comprised of this DigiYatra working?
No, there's all those various stakeholders, airports, airlines, technology companies. We have a whole host of players that are part of that working group. We've already had several sittings as well.
So what happens if there's a delay in constitution of the committee by the airline? Because you have given...
It is a standing committee. It is not a committee constituted for each incident. It is a standing committee which is constituted. And of course the airlines would be free. I mean, if for example some member wishes to resign or go, an airline has to bring in somebody. But it is a standing committee.
By each airline?
By each airline.
And so is there any time period for appeal committee? Is there any time period fixed for appeal committee within that?
We have not immediately provided, but I think that's again something that we should be providing, and we are open to suggestions on this count.
Sir, in case if a passenger indulges in unruly behavior, we don't know which of the three categories, then that case automatically goes into that committee. Until then, what happens with the passenger? Is he put on the no-fly list?
As we mentioned earlier, the airline where this incident has happened, that airline is free to ban the passenger immediately, pending this 10-day period during which the committee has to give this thing.
But sir, even if it's level
But he will not come on the national no-fly list till that committee gives a finding.
But sir, even if it's level 2 and level 3 behavior, in that case also other airlines will not have power to ban him?
Yes, presently that's the way it is proposed, and we are open to suggestions on this count.
Sir, can I ask a question on Kedarnath?
Probably not here. We can meet separately on this.
Just for clarity, a person is accused of disruptive behavior. The airline standing committee within 10 days says that he is guilty of that, so he won't fly for 2 months. जब उसका appeal pending है, till the appeal is decided, he won't be accepted by that airline, and others may or may not follow. That's
Correct. That's how it is. Correct.
And sir, do we currently have a no-fly list based on security? Do the security agencies have a list as on date?
We would not like to go into those details at the moment, but we wish to make it formal in this manner. But we would not like to go into those details, security-related details here.
So, कब तक मानेगी ये applicable?
Okay, so a big step there by the Civil Aviation Ministry, the government announcing new rules for a no-fly list to check unruly passengers. This obviously coming in the wake of the Shiv Sena MP Ravindra Gaikwad controversy.